Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Writers Chat. We're so glad that you're joining us today, whether you are here in the chat, and we do have a nice group here, of course we always do, or you're watching the replay. My name is Johnny Alexander. I'm a faith-based novelist, and joining me as my co-host is Bethany Jett, and she's going to be talking about integrative marketing today. Bethany just finished her master's degree program, and she can talk a little bit about that. I'm very proud of her because I know up until at least the last class she's maintained a 4.0 average despite also doing a multitude of other things, and I just don't know whether that last class has been graded yet. So Bethany, we're going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Yeah, I keep checking to see if it's been graded. Everything was due last, on Sunday night. So I'm just, please just grade my
So you know whether you can hold on to that 4.0 bragging rights.
I know. And it is just for me, but at least, and I told Mom, even if this class isn't an A, at least it was for the rest of the time. So I'm proud of that anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm super excited to talk today about integrated marketing and what all that entails. And I see some new friends in here as participants. So hey, Sally and Ben and Patricia, Jennifer. So we've got some Lee, John T. So new people, which I'm so happy you're here. And I'm totally excited to answer questions in the chat. I do have a PowerPoint, a keynote presentation for this because I thought people might want to take notes, and then it's easier sometimes to be able to see it. So if you're ready, Mom, I guess I'll just kind of just go through the PowerPoint.
Yeah, just go for it. We're eager to hear all this marketing stuff because we all need it. Marketing is just, I don't know, it's just tough. A lot of us have a hard time with it. So we're excited to have your expertise.
Well, I'm excited. I do want to show you guys one of my textbooks. It's kind of heavy.
Hold it up there. That is big.
Yeah, this is the Handbook of Strategic Public Relations and Integrated Marketing Communications.
Oh my gosh. Did you read that whole thing?
Did I what?
Read the whole thing?
No, but I did skim a lot of it, and I did take a lot of notes on some of the chapters, like marketing, public relations, and what does that mean? One part in here talks about getting third-party endorsements because it builds credibility, which is exactly what we do as authors. We're looking for influencers and endorsers too. So not recommending everyone run out and buy this book, but it is a great resource, and it gave case studies, which was super fun to read about that. So okay, I'll just go ahead and start. And I have the sidebars, how it shows you the slides on the side.
Mm-hmm.
I took those off to make it a little easier to see, but it still wouldn't let me move as easily on my side. So I'm sorry that that's there, but.
Okay.
So just want to make sure that you can see the slides. 10 steps of integrated marketing. Is that what you're seeing on the screen?
I can see it, yeah, and I hope everyone else can too. Okay, and I had to bring the chat back up, so I'm going to try to keep the chat where I can see it. But if we miss questions along the way, we will have time at the end. So, put questions in the chat, but then if we don't get to them during the presentation, we will definitely give you a chance to ask questions. So, yeah, people are saying they can see it. You're good to go.
Great. And then I can even say a little extra for the after party to ask questions, if,
Oh, great.
as well.
That's wonderful.
All right, so this is the 10 steps of integrated marketing, Bethany style. So I really believe after taking a lot of classes that was not academic style, but just I've purchased 5 million online courses about launching and brands and building and social media and all those things. And after taking those and then also going through this, marketing is really all about the message. It's not about me. So I like that the word message has the word me in it, because we have to remember that it's not about me, it's about the other person. It's always about the audience. It's always about your reader, putting it into writer terms. And it's about what content that they need at the time that they need it on the platform that they need it. So we have to get rid of excuses like, I don't like Pinterest. Well, if your audience loves Pinterest, then you need to be active over there on Pinterest. So,
Yeah.
no excuses. So what is integrated marketing? To sum it up, if you Google this, you're going to see a variety of definitions that pretty much use all of these words in some order. And it's basically just delivering a consistent messaging for your brand that's cohesive across all the social, all the media channels. So integrated is taking traditional and new media, which I'm going to go through in just a second, and using that to just consistent brand messaging for your audience is basically what an integrated marketing is. So a term that we talked about in class was that trad-digital, which is traditional and digital merged together. And I love when you merge words. So I don't really hear that very often except for that class, but it is kind of a fun way to think about how you're using your media, making sure you've got your foot in both worlds per se for it. So let's talk about traditional media and marketing communications versus new media and then integrated marketing communications. So traditional marketing was just one way. So we've talked about like traditional media would be TV commercials, direct mail or newspapers, basically any time where the person communicating does not have a way to talk to you back. Like you get that, you see the commercial, you watch the commercial, you don't watch the commercial, you skip the commercial. There's no interaction there with the person who presented it, basically. But these traditional media avenues are still important, and we still need to remember that our audience might not be using social media very often. And so if they're not, then how are you going to reach them with your message? So like TV commercials, that might be like out of, all of our realm for affordability, but we can do digital means to have the same kind of video there. Hi, Del, it's good to see you. Hi, Steve. Okay, so this is traditional media. An integrated marketing communication is a two-way communication. And so that kind of jumps into new media, which would be including all of the social blogs, because you can comment. It also includes like live streaming, like we're doing kind of like right now, where we have people who are with us in the chat. We're not just creating a video and then putting it online for them to watch. It's more interactive. Wikis, which are just collections where lots of people can write and contribute to, like Huffington Post, could be considered a wiki because it's got multiple contributors. Almost an author could probably also be considered a wiki. And then like YouTube would also be included in this. And in this you would also hear the term Web 2.0, also in terms with new media. So it's more than social, although a lot of times people will just say social. I tend to say social media quite a bit when I'm talking about this new media things, but it's more than that. It's audio, video, and copy all working together in a traditional manner or in a more integrated way where you're using digital to do it as well. So any questions so far, Mom? Are we?
No, I think you're doing good. I don't see anything.
Okay.
Well, we have a comment. Yeah, Catherine said, I'm sorry, I had to go back up a little bit. She said basically integrated marketing connects platforms and makes your deck even larger. Yeah.
Yep. So if you feel overwhelmed with the amount of marketing that you have now, you might feel overwhelmed right now as I go into this next part. But then I hope to make you feel less overwhelmed, because obviously none of us are going out and filming TV commercials right now, right? So we're not using every aspect of traditional media, and we might not even be using every aspect of new media. The key for every, let's term it a campaign. I'm gonna come off my slides for just a second.
Okay.
So I don't know that we've talked about it in here in Writers Chat, but in my last class, when we talked about building a PR campaign, we talked about the GRACE acronym, which I think we mentioned maybe in last week's episode, so there's a replay. But if I can, I'd like to go ahead and just like say what that acronym is.
Sure, cool.
So basically anything you're doing, whether it's for a book launch, or even a marketing campaign, when there's not even a book, you just have an idea or some content that you're wanting to promote, let's say, like for 4th of July. Okay, I'm going to use you as an example. With that chili recipe that I always come back to from one of your novels. Your novel has nothing to do with chili. It is just something that happens in one scene in the book.
Right.
But it's an award-winning chili recipe. So in the like month leading up to like July 4th, or Super Bowl's coming up, people always have chili cook-offs. So right now I would say, Mom, let's do a 3-week campaign where you're promoting this chili recipe with your book in the background. Like if you wanted to read the scene about where the chili comes in, you've got a link so someone could buy the book, but you're promoting chili right now because everyone's talking about chili cook-offs for the Super Bowl. So over these next 3 weeks, we would outline a goal. Like, is it traffic to your website? Would it be a download? Because you could offer it as a free PDF right now that people could opt into your email list to get it. You would pick a goal, and then you would be researching what places online, or even in traditional ways, could you submit it to a newspaper or something? How can I get this out there to people who are actually interested in chili cook-offs, and Super Bowl fans would probably be the two. Then we would plan out your action steps, which is the A. So it's the GRACE acronym: goals, research, action, planning. And then the C would be communicate. That's when you would actually execute. And then the E would be evaluate. So after the Super Bowl, we would go back and look at that. So that would be considered a 3-week, I'm going to call it a campaign for your chili cook-off. And then you could see how much traction did you get with book sales, but those sales might come later.
Sure.
So this might be the introduction to an audience through chili.
I like that idea, actually. Yeah, that's a good idea. And that is a very good chili recipe.
It is.
Okay, yeah, repeat that. Yeah, I am, Mom.
Yes.
Grace. So I'll mute myself and type it real fast if you can just.
Okay, so the GRACE, again, it's the GRACE Act. It's if you're going to Google it, you're going to want to Google the RACE acronym for public relations, and it'll pop up. There's lots of variations of this. Some people shorten it to ACE, and some people add the G for the goals on top, and they call it the GRACE, and that's the one that I like to do. So a campaign can be even as short as 3 weeks, doing a chili recipe because the Super Bowl is coming. I mean, so that's, when I say campaign, it doesn't need to be a very long kind of thing. So for every campaign, then going back to the slides, so I'll go ahead and share.
Well, first, before you do that, go through the G, the R, the A again real fast.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
G is for goals. R is research. A is action. But action, it sounds to me like I'm actually going to be executing. So it's action planning is how I think of it in my head. That's when you're creating your plan. Communicate would be the actual execution of your campaign. And then the E is for evaluation, where you're looking at the analytics and then analyzing everything, and then how does that relate back to your goal.
Yeah.
And that gave me so much freedom to think of it in terms of that, because now it doesn't have to be something that's never ending. I'm not just throwing things out there. Basically, if you were to do this chili Super Bowl thing now, then next year you could plan, you'd have data to then compare it to, or for any other kind of like chili. And you can even talk about the different kinds of chili. Texas chili, you know, it's very different than, you know, Southern chili or all those kinds of things. I mean, you could actually get a lot of play on this.
And I was saying no bean chili, chili with beans, chili without beans.
That's right. You could have a poll, running on, you know, your social media, like which one do you like better, or, you know, favorite brands or stuff. Like, I mean, that's the idea.
Yes.
Okay. So then going back to traditional media and then new media, what you will be identifying for this particular campaign, whatever you're choosing to do, would be which one of these is my audience paying attention to, and then focusing those efforts then during your action planning phase. These are the 3 that I'm going to focus on. So it's important, like we've said before, to be present on the different avenues and social media per se, because you don't know, like you might have a campaign where you're going to need to be utilizing Pinterest, like for this one, because you could pin it there you could have a whole chili board. But if you're not there, now you're spending hours trying to create it and add pins. Whereas if you had just done that work ahead of time, now you just get to utilize a platform that's already kind of built. Skyline chili. I know Dell loves Skyline chili too. Saw John's comment come through. I love that we're talking about chili in the comments. It makes me very happy. I think this just proves that this is a good idea.
Yeah, it probably is, and I probably should get to work on it, right?
There we go.
I need your help too.
Oh, yay. All right, so I pulled a couple of pictures off the website. So I can put these links in the chat or in there because obviously I didn't create this, but I did go ahead. Can you see the URL?
I can see part of the URL, but not all the URL. There you go. Okay.
All right. So I liked this graphic. It was just so you've got integrated marketing down at the bottom, and then I know it's kind of hard to see, so I'll maybe put this in the Facebook group if somebody wants to put the link to our Writers Chat Facebook group there. But then it also breaks down like the online, the traditional media, and then integrated marketing, guerrilla marketing, buzz marketing, sponsorships, like we talked about with Red Bull, how they sponsor extreme sports because that's their brand identity as an energy drink company. So like what kinds of things can we be sponsoring on a small scale? So, and then I liked this one as well, which looks like a lot of work to do.
It does.
So, yes.
Oh, wow. But you know what? But let's kind of break this down just a little bit because landing page, we all know we need one. I mean, that I think you would agree is the starting point, right? That you have
your
to
website,
have your own website, you have to have the place for people to go to. And then just breaking it down a little bit more as an author, maybe you just say you've got this new book contract or whatever. So you're just starting out, you've got your landing page. Yep. Where would you go next?
Email. Getting an email service provider, MailChimp, ConvertKit, Aweber, whatever it is. You can Google ESPs or email service provider, and there's a ton of stuff out there, comparisons to find the one that's going to work best for you, because I would want that email linked to my website right away. And I would create then, going up to that green print, I would create a PDF, even if it's 10 quotes, 10 resources, basically whatever you're talking about, just Google, top 10 blogs on blank, and then see if they're actually good, and then create a 10 great resources that you've kind of data mined from Google, and then link them. That could be your PDF. It could be something as simple as that. So,
yeah.
And then social media, obviously, once you have your website, which I would include the print and email with that, I would go social media. I would do Facebook first.
Yeah.
Personal and business, like author page. I'd have both of those. And then I would do Twitter and Instagram, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. And I would go with Twitter second because Facebook owns Instagram. So Twitter's pretty easy and intuitive to get on. And then I would go Instagram, then I would go LinkedIn, and then I would go Pinterest. And then I would start other things.
So Christy asked, is the print thing what people call the lead magnet? And I think that's what we're calling it right now. Print probably in this picture probably means like newspaper magazines, I would guess, actually.
Blog posts, perhaps, because it doesn't say Web 2.0 or wikis or anything like that. So I would say any kind of written copy.
Yeah.
And then banner. So then the other ones would be things like for your campaign, Mom, you might say, do I want to run a banner ad? Do I want to pay for ads for this chili campaign? I might do $25 for a Facebook ad targeting football fans. I don't know, but and just see, right?
Right.
Like probably women, because your book is for women. So that
Right.
gives you a niche audience just to see what happens. And then we would do variables after that. So that's a whole different thing. But that's, so for each campaign, then I would branch out and say, okay, what am I now going to do on these things for this campaign? And that would be outlined in your action step of the GRACE acronym.
Because really, even if you're not working on a specific campaign at the moment, the landing page, the newsletter list, which is under email, and the social media are all things that you need to be you need to be establishing all of those things and working with those.
Yep. And print could also probably mean like having a few blog posts on your site so that if people go there, they can see a little bit of content. They can see a little bit of your writing style as well. I mean,
right.
Print might actually, for this, because I don't know what the website says about it, this website could say it's really specifically talking about traditional means of print.
I would think so.
For this purpose, I think we could.
We're co-opting it and giving it a new definition.
According to Bethany. So what I'm going to go through now are the 10 steps of integrated marketing that I learned in my class. And this is when it really hit home for me that marketing is, even from a non-Christian perspective, there are Christian concepts within marketing. And it's when we feel like we're going to be spammy, if you feel that way, then you'll never be spammy because you won't do things that, well, that's not true. You could still be spammy because you're maybe doing things like in a spammy way, but we don't need to be worried about the focus being on us because it has to be about the message. When it's about the message, you're doing things in a different way. And then it's no longer about buy my book. Right. So ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, so this is the 10 steps of integrated marketing. Step number 1 is to listen. How's about that? So what does it mean to listen online? So there are actually programs that help you with listening. Agora Pulse it's pretty expensive, but it's a platform that would like schedule social media, but also lets you put like keywords or competitors in as well so that you're paying attention to what they're doing and then the conversations that are happening. One thing I recommend to my clients at Platinum Literary Services when I do marketing consultations is I have them put a Google alert for their name, but also then what kind of topics have we pulled from their brand or their book or whatever it is that we're working on, and have that as a Google alert as well, so that way they know if something's going on in the news, they can then talk about that thing that's going on in the news, but then in a way that matches what's going on with their brand, and kind of integrating that into their marketing plans as it goes. Because that's really staying on top of things. And then what that does for you is it sets you apart from everyone else talking about the same topic who is not paying attention to current events or what is going on that your audience likes. So. Mm-hmm. And listening, I also think that this is important in LinkedIn or Facebook groups. Twitter is an amazing place to listen. It's just paying attention to the conversations that people are having about a topic. And it's using the search tools to look that up. And when I'm using Instagram for research and let's say, I love the planners. So let's say I'm trying to figure out what people like about planners or what they wish was missing or something, I might just start searching for like the hashtag planner community. Almost anything has a community. You could fill in the blank community. Mm-hmm. And then start looking through posts, looking for top people who are getting a ton of engagement on their posts, and then paying attention to what they're saying in the caption, like as their little maybe micro blog that they're doing on Instagram. And then also what then are people saying in the comments? Are people actually talking and seeing that way? If you have Facebook groups, there's lots of conversations going on in there. It can really keep you up to date with the topic on what's going on. And there's usually like Facebook groups for any and everything. I think I saw a chat comment come in.
Google Alerts can also provide you with great curated content. Catherine commented on that.
Yes.
And that's absolutely true. Yeah.
All right, so number 2, the second step of integrated marketing is utilizing active conversation. And I think as writers, we're always talking about using active verbs, not passive. Don't write in a passive. So things like, using a call to action or a CDA, have a reason for the post. Like a lot of times on even my Instagram or Facebook, on the business side, business page, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of the post? Does it have one? If it's entertaining, that's great. But are you actually inviting people into the conversation? And are you participating in the conversation as well? I'm just going to keep going through these, and if people have questions, we can go back.
Yeah, that's fine.
The third step of integrated marketing is responding quickly. Twitter is a great place for this too, because it's so fast and interactive. I'm so guilty sometimes of not responding quickly or letting messages, kind of sit for a while and then missing them. Or if people comment on Facebook, it's always a nice idea to try to go back and respond to those comments, because they took the time to comment, not just let it build with no engagement back. Mm-hmm. And Gary Vaynerchuk talks about it too. He said in the early days of Twitter, when he was, building his platform there, he would spend hours just talking back, and he'll go on people's Twitter and he'll look. One of the first things he said he looks at to see, are you just throwing out content, or are you actually engaging with people? Are you actually responding to tweets and being part of the conversation? And that's what builds community, and that's what builds relationship. And then that in turn eventually helps make the sale, or the fans, or the people who are going to do whatever it is that you're working on. So responding quickly is important, very important, especially for brands and organizations and companies, but then even as writers who are building a brand too.
Yeah, and the thing with that is, with Twitter, I think it can be kind of hard. I mean, you really have to, someone said, watch your notifications and do that, because Twitter just moves so fast, and there's just so much on there. But I think on Facebook too, I mean, having those notifications, and then I believe that actually commenting on somebody's stuff is better than just reacting to somebody's stuff, and that helps. So if you have something good to say, or something you can say, you're helping that person by actually doing a comment rather than just a heart or a like or whatever. And I think I've heard recently too, I don't know if this is true, that the like itself doesn't really mean much anymore. So if you do the heart or the sad face or the wow face or the laughing face, any of those, that's a better thing to do too.
A different reaction
than just yeah. And then you'll notice, if you do something and a lot of people start even just reacting to it, even if they're not commenting, it does seem to get seen more places, because then that kind of grows. So it just sort of becomes a self-fulfilling sort of thing as it goes on. Yep. Catherine advises it personal, and I agree with that too. Try to find a way to make it personal when you comment. Okay, go ahead.
Norma said that Twitter feels more conversational, interactive, and I think that's very true. It's super conversational. It's a great place to build community and join a community that's already in existence, really. Step 4 of integrated marketing is asking questions. So the way I would suggest to do this as an author building a brand would be to, if you're sharing something like a resource, or there's a news article or a YouTube video or something, ask a question on Facebook. I get a lot of traction when I tell people to respond with GIFs only. Mm-hmm. That's so fun, right?
Yeah.
It can be easy questions. It doesn't have to be super in depth, because honestly, if it's a question where I have to really think about it, or I think I'm gonna feel stupid if I mention it because you can't give a lot of context in a short comment box, then I tend to maybe not comment as much. But if it's something kind of easy that I can just take a second, and especially if you're on your phone, right?
Yes.
And I could comment easily on, or I could grab a GIF, that might be something I would comment on more, so make it just simple, but ask questions and let people participate with you, so that it is integrated. It is two-way communication and not just a one-way communication.
One of the best ones I ever had was when I said, and I'll do this every once in a while, say, let's imagine, just kind of started out, let's imagine you just suffered a bad breakup. What kind of ice cream do you eat? There were tons and tons and tons of answers, and I went through them and, picked one to use in my story. So, and I've done that with different things. Like, you're at a B&B that serves great breakfast. What's on the menu? Just whatever you might need that can get people talking about a story way ahead of time, really, because that book might not appear for another year or so, but people get invested in that, and people are so willing to help with research. I've had people I don't know when I've just popped things out there. When I was writing that story on the Erie Canal, people, I didn't even know what it was going to be about, and people sending me ideas and things. So it's just great to do that.
I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Everyone likes to talk about experience.
Yeah. And then when I do like something like that, not with the ice cream one so much, but some things, if it really made a big difference to the story, I include that person in the acknowledgments and make sure I send them a copy of the book too. So
that's super nice.
So thank you.
I love that. Ready?
I'm ready.
Is it sharing?
It is.
Okay. So step number 5 is to determine the user interests. Going back to audience, our readers. Basically, this is also part of the, research phase. If you're going through the GRACE acronym, is what do they like? Oh no. You're gonna have to talk.
Okay. Well, that was Sadie that you heard in the background, who is barking. Determine user interest. I really don't know what to say about that. Bethany's got Amazon at the door, so she's going to have to do that. But I guess you do want to know what your readers are interested in, right? The dog was interested in something else. Absolutely. She's always interested in who's at the door. So let me really quickly try to figure out how to say this. Determine user interest. Know what things that your tribe, your group, your community is interested in, and see if there's something in your writing, in your life that intersects with that. So that if you find that a lot of the people that you're writing, maybe you're writing a book on parenting, but you find a lot of the people seem to also be very interested in gardening, maybe you could sort of pull that in together. Okay, she's back. I am floundering.
You did great.
Like a fish.
Somebody was at the door. It was just so she could interrupt. Okay.
We love Writer's Chat. This is why we keep it real. Yes, we do. Thank you, Catherine. Catherine was trying to help me out, and I couldn't see the chat at that moment. So what are people talking about? What are people sharing? What topics get the most engagement? Yes.
Facebook is going to be a great resource for this, actually.
What is?
Facebook. Because here's a good example. This is one way I saw it living out in my own world. So when the Gilmore Girls, which I had never seen growing up, but when they had their Thanksgiving special coming, where they did like the next few years or whatever, it was all over my Facebook, my business page. Like if I was through there looking at other pages, people were talking about it. I had friends talking about it on my personal page, which is really where I saw it all the time. And I thought, the women who are talking about this are my target audience, and they're really excited about it. And I've never seen it. So then I decided to go ahead and just binge watch it while I was working or whatever I had it on, so that I could participate then. So what I should have done was, let's learn from this, honestly. What I should have done is watch them all before that special came out, and then watched the special when it happened live and get on Twitter to talk about it, because that's probably where the conversation was then happening. So I noticed on Facebook that everyone's talking about this. They're excited about it because they love the Gilmore Girls. That was my audience. So that's listening, right? And then I could have had a few things. I mean, because Rory and her dating life, I could have totally applied that to my dating book. So it was just missed opportunities all over the place. And then when that live special came out, I should have been on Twitter finding whatever hashtag anyone's talking, because there was one, and just watching it with my community of people who are interested in this, not promoting my book, but just engaging in the conversation. Because sometimes when you participate in those niche things like that, that's when people follow each other, because it's like a common interest, or you'll say something in a group and then you might have a conversation now outside of that as well. It's like sporting events are the same way, but this would be even more purposeful. Yeah, I love watching college football with Twitter open on my phone, because it's so fun.
Your brother does too.
It's such a fun way to communicate with people who are interested in something that you are. Now, on this end, I wasn't interested in it, but my audience was. And so if we're taking ourselves out of the equation and thinking, okay, how can so it really goes back to listening. That's why it's more at the top of the steps. Like, you have to be listening. What do they like? What does your user like? And then Gary Vee says, which is Gary Vaynerchuk, he talks about doing multiple variables of content, or even ad content or non-paid content. But then if you're doing it paid, tweaking it slightly and then targeting a user. So he said, if you're selling anything, honestly, but you target it towards the New York Jets fans, because he's a huge fan. He goes, I'm much more interested in buying your Snickers bar if it has something pertaining to me as a New York Jets fan. And so even sometimes just tweaking one piece of content slightly to go after those determined user interests, you might see a much better return on investment if you're going to go after paid advertising, or maybe even if you're just wanting it to kind of go out organically. Same thing. So very interesting and important and often overlooked step.
All right.
I forgot I wasn't sharing the screen.
Back to
I didn't want to be so big on that. There it is.
Let me bring the chat back up. Okay.
All right. Here we go.
Number 6.
Share stories. And aren't we storytellers?
Well, we should be, right? I forgot to type in number 5. Sorry.
Determine user interests.
Thank you.
So then number 6 is sharing stories. Sharing your story, sharing other people's story. Everything is about story. So, and as writers, we know that. And so we're ahead of the game on this one. And honestly, a lot of people can take great photos or do great videos, but if they haven't developed the skill of writing the copy that's going to go along there, then it doesn't. Of course, some people are going to do video and do great, and they're going to be super successful. But if you can have the trifecta, the audio, video, and then the written part of it, then you're ahead of the game. So like if you're going to do freelance, they need writers who understand story, who understand how to pull their customer in and tug on the hearts. And if you think about almost every commercial that we see, oh man, I watched a lot of college football this year. We saw through Hulu, so we had different ads than was on TV, I'm sure. But Chick-fil-A did these like super heartwarming Christmas ads where I thought it was a Hallmark commercial actually at first, or we thought it was a preview to a movie, and it just like, tugged at our hearts about spending time with your family. And then it was Chick-fil-A. I was like, what? And then last night they were doing the ones where they've got the people on the couch, and then they're talking about one employee there and how the people connected with their customers. And it's all about that story. And it's nothing about their product. It's about the story and then those feelings. And so how do we do that, in a written way? And so by telling story, then that's the 11:44 a.m. Siri thought I said Siri. So
I thought I was going to have to go mute somebody. So
I apologize for Sadie and Siri.
You had a really cute little story, I guess, on Instagram, or I probably didn't see if it was on Instagram, maybe it was on Facebook, but anyway, you were showing Sadie spinning, and then you had the little comments, and people who like dogs, I mean, they're not necessarily your target audience at all, but I mean, that was adorable watching her trying to figure out what she was supposed to do to get the treat, so it's just one of those little moments that probably appealed to people other than your typical audience, right?
So I'm going to say 2 words to you. It's actually 1 word. TikTok, to throw another.
That's what it was. Yeah, it was on TikTok. I saw that in the corner of it. Yes. Oh my gosh, a whole nother thing to learn.
Well, I will tell you that I don't know. Okay, so I was watching I was watching Gary Vee, and he had a clip on YouTube about Instagram organic reach. But they were clipping in a lot of things that happened to him that day. And I don't know like the context of where this came from, but he was saying organic reach on Instagram is over. He's like, you had it for a while and it's gone. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then he moved on to something else in the clip. So what he was basically saying was, all of you who started TikTok when I told you to, good for you. And he said a lot of people are coming in now and saying their engagement has jumped over there as a result then of seeing this decline on Instagram. And TikTok used to be Musical.ly, and then they got bought out by TikTok. So if you're reading any of Gary Vaynerchuk's books, like Jab, 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 Right Hook, which I love to recommend, he's going to talk, and I think Crushing It or Crush It, one of them, it's going to talk about Musical.ly. It's just now TikTok. So it's pretty much the same concept where you're making these little short videos, and then it connects, literally you'll put it in your Instagram story or your Instagram feed or on Facebook. I'm using it for different things, but kind of paying attention to what's trending and having a followers battle with my son. So I'm getting more views.
I knew Jeremy was on TikTok when we were there at Thanksgiving. That was the first time I'd ever even heard of it when he was talking about it. Okay, but let's go back really, really quick because I wanted a little bit distracted there. But you are saying that if we haven't already ridden the Instagram wave, it's probably too late to get organic.
No, I think you still need to be on there.
Okay.
But whatever, that's the thing. I don't know why I watched that video twice thinking it was a different video where he was going to explain it. And I'm sure he does somewhere else, but it was a comment where he pulled in, he literally said Instagram organic reach is over. He figured it out and it's over. But what does over mean? Right? I don't know. And then he was then talking about how engagement on TikTok has scored, and he was kind of comparing the two. And then his thing is, getting comfortable with a different kind of medium, like a different kind of platform, it's because you don't know what the next one is going to be. So like, we didn't know Instagram was going to come out with a TV channel, IGTV. Right. But if you were playing around on YouTube or Periscope or this kind of thing or any kind of live streaming, okay, I've worked out the kinks a little bit. I kind of feel more comfortable. And now I can jump on the next thing. Because at its core, it's video, it's audio, or it's written. And the manner of it might change, but it's just a different platform. It's just, and then it gives you the opportunity then to let go of one and move into the other very seamlessly. Does that make sense? So that's also,
it does. It does.
Thinking about this. And I will tell you, if you're reaching a young adult or younger generation, I would say 30s and less, and there's a lot of adults on there too using it for business because they're smart and they're getting in there now, then that is a platform you want to be on. And you can just, once you kind of figure out like what is where, it's awesome. And I'm going to do a plug for that real quick. Oh, I can't. I want to. So there's a cop on there who has tons of followers. He's a police officer. He takes off all of his like badges and stuff so he doesn't identify like what department he's with or anything. But most of them are filmed in his car. And so usually there's just little clips of songs that play. You don't hear your voice. It's like you lip sync kind of to them, or you don't. You can just kind of act out something. But whatever little clip will be playing, it'll be like a song that'll say something like, I'm watching you or something, but he'll put text above it. It's like when I see someone walking down the sidewalk and they do a double take, and the song is "I'm watching you," and so he's kind of just like looking out his window or whatever. And so he just does these little ones that pertain to being a police officer. He's got tons of followers, and they're funny. Like you just kind of scroll through, and I thought, you know what? It doesn't have to be making these outrageous videos like the teenagers are doing, right? Because they love it. But how can I do this for moms or writers and things like that? Just what song is the trending one? How does that relate to being a writer or a mom? And then you just fill in the blanks, and you just kind of film a little video or whatever. So there we go.
Okay. Where are we? Okay, we've got 10 minutes, and I know there's at least one question I want to have you talk about. Annette's got a question, but I want her to ask it on the air. So I'm holding off on it. So go through your next 4, and then we'll bring everybody back on.
All right, so we're going to go fast then.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay. 7 is provide value. Value to your user, because now you know what they want. It is not about what you want. It is about what they want. Number 8 is offer surprise and excitement. One way to do this would be maybe on Twitter. ask a question and then say, I'm picking one person to get a $5 Starbucks gift card.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, I see that about TikTok. It is China owned. You have to be careful. You have to be careful on all the platforms. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Offer surprise and excitement. What can you do to kind of like give the wow to your audience? Number 9 would be engage. This is a two-way conversation. So you've done all those things and now you actually get to interact with people afterwards. And then step 10 is about remaining transparent. And so it doesn't mean sharing all your business, but it does mean, just, we all know what this means. It means remaining transparent. We talked about this before. So then I'm going to scroll down. So super quick, what I like to tie into this when I'm teaching it at a conference is, let's talk about the 10 ways that we feel loved. And I'll just go through them pretty fast. So I guess in the chat, like if one of these pertains to you or all of them, just say yes. I mean, when you see one for you, say it could be all of them. So I know I feel loved when I'm listened to.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I have a meaningful conversation and it's not just chit chat, like at a cocktail party or something, like that's the worst. When we receive prompt attention, even if it's at the grocery store and the cashier just looks at you and acknowledges that you're standing in this long line, just that is enough to help you feel like, okay, I can be more patient. When we are asked for our opinion, doesn't that make you feel like so special? If we participate in activities that we like, when we share stories or we're asked to share our story, when someone helps us, isn't that like the best feeling? Sometimes hard to accept it, but it's nice when people offer. When we're surprised for no reason. Now, some people hate surprises, but some surprises are good. Like if someone like a note left, in the bathroom from your husband, or like sometimes I'll sneak a little note into his wallet so I know he'll pop it out like when he pays for breakfast or something. Just those little surprises like we did for our kids, like putting them in their lunch boxes and things like that. And then how about like when you receive like a random text from someone that just says, I'm thinking about you, or hope you're doing okay, you were on my mind, those kinds of things. And then if someone's vulnerable with us, that's a lot of trust. And so that also gives that sense of just feeling loved. And so I call this the 10 ways that we feel loved meeting integrated marketing. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this. So in blue are the ways that we feel loved that we went through, but then the green ones were the ones we went through for integrated marketing, and they line up exactly.
Wow. That's really good. That's really, really great.
So marketing is really what I would say is about loving someone else enough to do what they need at the time that they need it on the platform that they need it, and not really thinking about me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave this up for just another second because I think, like, in case anyone wants the screenshot or whatever, and then I'll.
Okay. Can you put the chart on Facebook, in our Facebook group? Yeah. Okay. So it'll be in the Writers Chat Facebook group sometime today. Okay. Yay. And well, I didn't want to commit you. Okay. If everybody wants to come back on for the last few minutes, let's do that. And I do want to have Annette then talk about a watch party, and Bethany, you can answer her questions about that. And then if anyone else has anything they want to talk about, if you have trouble, if you're in what we call Writers Chat jail, and you can't get back on, let me know in the chat, and Bethany and I will try to get you back on. All right, Annette.
Sure. So my Laura Ingalls Wilder Companion is coming out in July. I do want to have some sort of a watch party for not the whole show, but the first episode of the Little House on the Prairie show, which is also considered a movie because it's about 2 hours long, I think. But I want to have a show for that. But it seems like watch parties are usually would be on Twitter. But my group is really, my audience is really on Facebook. What would you suggest what would you suggest there, Bethany?
we had, I can't remember her name, Mom, but she was doing the Pride and Prejudice video party. And so she is really good about just constantly reminding people, right? Because it's not in the back of your head. Like, so she was constantly saying, it's at this time. She had all the different time zones. These are the channels. Here's how you can watch it if you don't have TV. Like, she kind of gave people options on how to be able to watch it at the same time with her. And then she had maybe 5 or 6, she would have different questions that were going on in the chat, like some of them pre-done, but then she was also asking questions like, who's your favorite character in Pride and Prejudice? I mean, it was as simple as that. Or as she's watching, she might be like, did you notice? She'd have fun facts too about Pride and Prejudice that we hadn't known, or about the actors. And so that stuff was coming through. I mean, I was transfixed in that Facebook group because there was always something surprising or fun happening. And then people were commenting underneath all the different ones. And I even came in late and still felt like I was being part of the group and all that. And I think she had instructions pinned as the announcement at the top of the group. So it's like, no matter what time you come in, introduce yourself here so that everyone started at that one spot. And then feel free to just scroll through and chat with us. But then she was watching it as, we were probably on different times, I think, with the movie, but it didn't matter because it was all just happening from this time to this time. And then you could do the same thing on Twitter. If you're going to create those questions, I would just create them Twitter sized, like in Canva, and have that happening there too. I mean, you really could, if you could manage the 2 chats, you could have both running at the same time. Quite honestly, that'd be super fun.
And what you were seeing, they were pre-made questions and comments and information so it wasn't like random, just comments typed up right then. Okay.
Yeah, she had it all worked out ahead of time. And actually, this was the evening that Bethany and I were driving back from Tennessee after being up there because of a hurricane. And we still were just so interested that that's what we did when we got to our homes, that we got on our TVs and laptops and whatever and watched it. It really was a very fun thing to do. Yeah.
And the extra fun facts, I think that's what I love the most, because you're talking to an audience that's very interested in this. She had a book, you've got a book, you've done more research than anyone who's in that room has done, and just pulling those things, I didn't want to miss any of that. I think that was more than the community sense. I didn't want to, when I saw she was doing those things, I didn't want to miss any of it. And then she would sometimes tie a question to it, like, did you know this? What would you have done? Or, just whatever would work. But there was a lot of engagement happening in that group for it.
And yet, how are you going to get people, where is the show so that people are easily able to access it?
I don't know if it's available on like Prime. I don't have Netflix, so I don't know that I have Prime. I know that I watched it a few years ago from my local library. Okay. So I'm not sure, maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe. Well,
yeah, that is one thing you're going to have to do, is make sure that people are going to be able to easily access that in some way. Yeah. And I don't know how you do that.
And I really, you can still watch the episodes on TV, but that it's so far from Laura Ingalls Wilder's books that I don't really want to focus on that. It would draw a different audience. But I think people would be too critical about how far away it is. And I just want it to be a celebration and fun. So, and I say people might be too critical, but there are lovers and there are haters, and there are some that are. So.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great idea. I think you're going to have to work out the logistics to make sure it's going to work. And if it does, yes. I mean, I would love to be part of that too. Because I loved watching those movies and shows. So,
So with the Pride and Prejudice group, was that just a Facebook group?
I think she did it in Facebook. Yeah, it was just in Facebook, and she sort of, and we all. I mean, I don't think everybody was like on track because we were watching it on different platforms, but it was okay. We were close enough all together that her questions made sense. So yeah, and she did do a good job.
We found her through Instagram.
well, I know Hillary. It was Hillary Manton Lodge, and I actually think it was Sense and Sensibility and not Pride and Prejudice, but I think that because her book was her
right.
novel was like a modern Sense and Sensibility, but yeah, so it was, she just did it in a Facebook group, and like, because I remember I had a little time, I was on the little TV watching it on Netflix, I think, and then I had my laptop open too and was interacting on Facebook with her. But she is a great, Hillary Manton Lodge. I haven't checked her Instagram lately, but I know she used to do a great job with her Instagram. So as far as her books are concerned, so she's a great one to look at as a model. Bethany Turner is too. Is that the right last name? I hope so. Yeah,
I think
she does great with her books on Instagram as well. I can just write her name. I don't. You'll have to look her up on your Instagram because I don't know it. But both of these women, I have been very impressed with how they do Instagram in their books.
Well, thank you very much. Was Bethany on Writer's Chat once? Am I thinking of someone else?
Yes, she was. Bethany Turner, yeah, she was. And I think Hillary has been too, hasn't she? I don't know. Maybe. Okay. What else? Anybody else? And I'm sorry if I missed some questions. There's been comments about watching copywriting with music. Yes, we do want to say that while we're on the recording too, that you do have to be very, very careful about music and playing in the background or whatever on your social media things. Anyone else have any questions or comments though? Bethany, do you remember what's going on next week?
Run to Dragonair.
Thank you, Melissa. What's Rhonda doing?
Okay, just a second, and I can give you the actual title of
I was going to look it up. Thank you.
Writers Conferences.
Contest, right?
Yeah, the title is Contest Savvy, Enter and Win.
That's great. So you want to be here next week for that. All right. Well, last chance, Sophia.
This is so timely, and it's so much really wonderful content. So thank you, Bethany. This is something I'm going to have to study. Hit the replay and pause, but it's so helpful and just thank you.
Yay!
I'm lost, but I've got a direction.
Yes.
And that's what we need sometimes, is just that, yeah, the direction. Well, again, thank you all for being here. If you're watching the replay, we invite you to join us any Tuesday morning, excuse me, 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern here on this Zoom, in this Zoom room. Also, we invite you to join our Facebook group, Writers Chat members, the Serious Writer Community Facebook group, and we're just really glad to have you with us. So thanks, everybody. You that are here, stay on for the after party. Everyone else, we'll see you next time on Writers Chat. Bye-bye.